Well, hello and welcome to another episode of More Perfect Marketing. It's David Baer here. Got a question for you. What do the letters MIT, SEO, LASCC, and MOM all have in common? Well, they all describe, in one respect or another, today's guest. I'm talking to Z Scott, who is down in Southern California. I should have added LA in that list, shouldn't I?
Yeah.
Z, welcome to the show.
Well, thanks for having me, David. I'm so happy to be here.
Indeed. That was a long list of, well, it wasn't that long a list. There was only a few letters there, but they're letters that I've seen associated with you in several different places. MIT, clearly something you're very proud of in your personal, life of having attended and graduated from an exceptional school. SEO is part of your moniker. We'll get to that in a couple of moments. MOM is probably something I imagine you're pretty proud of as well. And then this
Mhm.
other thing that I just saw in a couple of places, the LASCC, it's the Chamber of Commerce and your
The LA South Chamber of
yep,
Commerce.
and you have some accreditation from them and several other places,
Hmm.
meaning that you are clearly a respected member of the community when it comes to the services you provide to other professionals. So that's a long list. I'm sure that there's a few of those you'd like to dig into more, and I want to give you the opportunity to do so.
Yeah, and one of the latest ones that you can add is Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Business Alumni. So I just graduated from that program, which was really exciting.
That is so cool. And this is one of the things that I really appreciate about folks who spend a lot of time continuing to learn as they're, running their business. There's always more out there for them to learn and leverage in terms of new knowledge and obviously new connections that come from that knowledge, which helps spur on the business growth. And you mentioned before we started recording this, one of my favorite words, not in the context that I'm about to bring it up in, but consistency. And I've
Yes.
noticed that in all that I've been, learning about you before we hopped on today's call, that you're very, very consistent in the work that you do, the effort that you put into it, and the sort of uh, intentional nature of the way that, at least from the way that I see it, right?
Hmm.
That you operate. And I wonder if you might speak to that for a moment.
Yeah, consistency is really important. And, when I started the SEO Queen, in its current formation in 2017, I knew that I wanted to be out there in a big way so that businesses who need my services can know that I'm reliable. Because one of the problems in the marketing industry, regardless if you're what type of marketing strategist you are, there's an issue of trust and integrity that is hard to come by. It's hard to know who to trust, who to rely on. And that's why my community is so diverse. And I welcome people into the community, even if they don't have the funds to pay, even though, I also service, clients from, $0, startups all the way up. I'm actually on the advisory board of a new startup, Dermos, as a marketing consultant. And so I'm like really excited about helping businesses at all stages of the life cycle of a business.
I I love the idea of being able to, you know, I talk to a lot of marketers who specialize in the emerging or the small business because they really want to help. But what they forget about is balancing that with customers, clients, who can support and pay them what they're actually worth in order to be able to, I don't want to use the word subsidize, that's wrong, but be able to afford to contribute to some of those other types of clients. And so I think you've very smartly, sort of approached this, being able to serve those who need the service but aren't necessarily in a position to or ready yet for everything you can do for them, while also having some, clients at the other end of the spectrum who really dig deep and utilize your services, at a much with a greater investment, financial investment.
Right. So the challenge that a lot of businesses have is like they have this financial goal in mind, whether it's six, seven, eight, nine figures, right? But the reality is, and you and I know that in this economy, in this marketplace, especially in the United States, you're competing against everything
Mhm.
for attention. And this attention economy, there's a premium placed on eyeballs and people's attention. You have to be consistent. You have to have a message. It has to be branded. Like, even if you're just a mom and pop putting out content on your Instagram, you have to compete with the Marvels and the Disneys who putting out content on a daily basis. This is why authenticity is something that no one has a a monopoly on, and this is the superpower, and this is the leverage that small businesses can utilize to get that attention. But consistency with your message, no matter how polished it is the key to your visibility. And investing as much as you can is the key to your marketing. Even the SEO queen, everything we do for our clients, we do for ourselves.
Which is
Like, I
another
mean,
thing that I don't see a lot of marketers do. So that's that's
yeah,
another
I mean, Ty Lopez, I don't know if you're familiar with Ty
yeah.
Lopez, but he, I think Ty Lopez is, he's interesting. Like, I'm really not his target demographic, but I'm like this huge fan of Ty.
Hmm.
But Ty, he has this program. It's called 67 Steps, and one of the steps is to eat your own dog food.
Yeah.
And what he means by that is like whatever you're selling, like if you don't utilize your products and services, you're definitely going to miss out on market share. And so I really think that this has been true for us. Like we use SEO on our website. We're on Google page one for, many SEO related terms. We need to be on more terms, but this is something that I'm working on.
Yeah.
But this is a thing that really gave me like uh, an indication that I was doing the right thing when I went back and looked at the first agency I ever worked with, and I looked at their visibility and compared it to my companies, and we're more visible organically than they are, and that made me say, okay, this is a watershed moment as a CEO, as a founder, that I'm going to a next level. When I mentioned like my approach to our services to other companies and how we are welcoming to businesses no matter where they are in the life cycle, I really was inspired by a case study that I studied at the Sloan School at MIT. And we did this William and Sonoma case study.
Hmm.
And I don't remember the name of the class, but I remember the case study, and it was about this bread maker. It was about how there was three models, and they had to figure out how to price each one. And what they found is that the one that was mid priced sold much more than the cheaper one and the high end one. And so that price segmentation strategy is something that really stayed with me, and that's something that I definitely leverage in all my ventures even today.
So I want to follow up on that with a question because I'm thinking, okay, the business is called the SEO Queen,
Hmm.
and we have yet to talk about SEO, and that's sort of the point, right?
Right.
It's a place that businesses think they need help. Sometimes they do, sometimes maybe they don't. But the fact that you are thinking about things beyond getting ranked, on search engines
Hmm.
suggests that there's a lot more to the business than SEO. And I'm curious, to understand a little bit more about how you approach um, leveraging that positioning around SEO, and then
Hmm.
where you tend to end up delivering the majority of the service that you're delivering to clients.
Well, we lead with SEO, search engine optimization, because it really is a game changer. When you're a business and you're trying to figure out, okay, where am I going to get these eyeballs? Where am I going to get these eyeballs to come to my company and pay for my products and services? And for me, it's a no-brainer to say Google, because Google has over 2 trillion searches that are happening annually a year. Google is the most popular website on the planet.
Hmm.
No website, no Amazon, Facebook, X, none of those websites get the traffic that Google gets. And Google has masterfully created an ecosystem of products and services, some free, some paid, where people are plugged in and go to Google for so much. And as a business owner, I really believe that it's a game changer. And when it just comes to, you know, the business in general, like my signature clients, they also get to experience the business strategy part, because not only am I an SEO specialist, but I'm also a business strategist. And I think I delved into my first foray into business strategy when I was a tween. Went with my parents on this trip, and I sold all these little plastic bags for, like, I think I sold them for like 10 cents in the
Hmm.
80s. And I that was my first um, experience of having a product, selling it, and making money. And as I've gotten older, I've gotten wiser, bolder, and understand the exchange that when you see a need, meet that need, and there's that exchange, that dollar exchange. And as simple as it may seem to some of our listeners, this is something that a lot of business owners talk to me about,
Hmm.
how to monetize. And so this is something that um, I also do as well.
Again, not very common with a lot of marketers, right? A lot of marketers tend to be very narrowly focused in a certain discipline, a certain sort of tactical area. And I'm interested in understanding, how you go about broadening the conversation with a client from, you want SEO? Great, I can get you ranked, to things like, business model and pricing strategy and areas that really are beyond what they might expect of you based on the name of the business.
Right. So a lot of it happens in our conversations, and for me, the motivation to have these conversations is really because I want the SEO to be effective. I think I did a blog post in 2017 about the difference between marketing and sales, and how you can have all the marketing in the world, but if your sales isn't effective, all this marketing is not going to give you the ROI. And so I'm really a firm believer in that your marketing has to make sense. It's so important to understand and be clear about your buyer's journey. When I was working with Lindustry last year in 2023, this is something that I emphasized to all the business owners that I was mentoring. I told them it is so important, and this is one of the first things we did, is to outline what is your buyer's journey, what are people buying, how are they buying it, and why. And this journey, being clear about it, informs your marketing, because you will then know what to say to draw people in, because you're going to draw people in at different stages in the funnel. Because business is not, it's not like baking a cake. I mean, it's kind of like baking a cake, but it's like baking a cake where you eyeball the ingredients. You're going to
Mhm.
get, that cake is going to vary every time you make it. And it's just the nature of the consumer, of your clients. Every business is different, every brand is different, people buy for different reasons, and your marketing has to speak to those plethora of reasons to be effective and to really get a great market share. I mean, look at Disney. Disney has a multitude of brands that speak to a multitude of people. McDonald's just launched a whole new store that's focused just on drinks to compete
Mhm.
with Starbucks. And so there are needs in the market that it's really important for you as a business owner to really understand, so that you can speak to the people at the moment in time that they're ready to spend the money.
So that McDonald's thing, I think the company that they're going after, at least this is what that company claims, is not Starbucks as much as a company called Dutch Brothers, uh,
Mm-hmm.
which is here on the west coast of the U.S., fairly expansive, and I think they have I don't remember how many locations they have, but McDonald's is basically copying their model almost exactly as is. At least
Hmm.
that's what Dutch Brothers is claiming and complaining about. So we'll see.
Right,
Yeah,
right. So I mean, it's, when you're putting your marketing together, you really have to connect it to the sales. And to your point earlier, you were saying a lot of marketing professionals don't talk about the business impact of their marketing. And you this is why the chief marketing officers is one of the highest turnover executive offices in corporations, because many um, marketing professionals, they want to raise awareness,
yeah.
but likes is a vanity metric. You can't call your marketing effective if it doesn't drive sales.
100%. And the fact that you have gone, sort of into that amount of depth with areas, again, outside of SEO is something that I want our listeners to think about in terms of when they're talking to a marketing professional, right?
Mm-hmm.
How
Mm-hmm.
far beyond the area of expertise that they claim in the focus of their business do they have? Because you've demonstrated something that is very uncommon with most Main Street marketing, agencies working in the small medium business space, which is that
Mm-hmm.
you're thinking beyond simply the area, tactical area that you're necessarily, known for or specialize in. And so businesses should pay attention, and also other marketers should pay attention to emulate it, because it's I think you're thinking in a broader fashion that makes a ton of sense, and I wish more marketers did. That's the mission that I'm on with the work that I do to get more marketers thinking more strategically and more broadly. I want to bring in something we were talking about
Mm-hmm.
before we hit record, because I think it's sort of fits here. I was doing a little bit of research in advance of our conversation, and I hit your website to sort of learn about the services that you offer. And there's this
Mm-hmm.
great picture that greets me on the front page of the website. And on your desk, I saw a book by Brendan Kane. About influence and getting followers, a book by Dan Kennedy and Kim Walsh Phillips, which is basically the co-authored book that they did about
Social
social media
media.
marketing. A couple of
Mm-hmm.
books by Russell Brunson, of who now
Yep.
owns Dan Kennedy's former company,
Yeah.
and then there was this other book, and I asked you about it, and you had an awesome answer. And the book was by Marcus Garvey. Tell me
Right.
a little bit about that combination of books, and and about Marcus Garvey in specifics.
Yeah, so Marcus Garvey is in my opinion one of the most prolific entrepreneurs to ever live, because um he actually published a newspaper. He published a newspaper on three continents. He published a newspaper on three continents daily without the internet. And he had such a prolific impact with his dissemination of his message that J. Edgar Hoover decided to create what we now know as the CIA, but this is before it was the CIA. That was his first rodeo with that. But um, he literally, like, Marcus Garvey to me is like, I'm just trying to figure out how I would publish a daily newspaper daily, right, on three
Mhm.
continents in three different languages without the internet and Google Translate. So, I mean, for me, that's just a brilliant leader. He was very resourceful and amazing. And so, to me, he's just a very inspiring entrepreneur.
For listeners who don't know, Marcus Garvey was around pre-internet, so about 100 years ago. What it was sort of the height of when he was active. He was a immigrant to the U.S. from Jamaica, and
Yep.
a political activist in and really brought a tremendous amount of awareness to the Black communities in many different countries around the world.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So,
And he was the creator of the green, red, and black flag as well, which
I
is
think I saw that.
popular.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's popular during, Juneteenth and
Mhm.
other, Black History Month and other, holidays across the diaspora globe.
Yeah.
And this is my son interrupting my Zoom interview with David Baer.
Well, it's sometimes it's worth being reminded that we're all human beings and we all have lives and families in addition to all the professional stuff that we do. So he's welcome to hang
Mm.
out and participate as well. Well, was it the CIA or the FBI that he influenced? I don't know
He
this. I don't know this part at all. So that was an interesting, piece of trivia for me.
I think, because I know the FBI, their main headquarters is named after him. I have to go back and read it. I'm not sure if he started the CIA or the FBI, but I know he did kick off the predecessor to COINTELPRO.
Okay,
I do know that for sure.
interesting. So
Mm-hmm.
I think there's something to be said about the fact that even non-marketers and whether this is a useful example or not, non-marketers um, are really good examples for those of us in marketing and in business
Mm-hmm.
around how to influence through communication. We've seen a lot of this, obviously, in recent years with our most recent former, U.S. president, who did a lot of things that were around a very different approach to communication, but useful and educational in understanding how they work, even if you didn't necessarily like the approach or the individual. I think there's a lot of instructive stuff there that could be helpful for um, marketers and communicators, in business alike, about how do you
Mm-hmm.
influence decision making, how do you influence perception, etc.
Yeah, because Marcus Garvey, he used a plethora of platforms. He used, not only he had his own newspaper. I'm launching my own magazine, the Algorithm Magazine. It's a technology and business news magazine for business owners by business owners. And then he also had live events. I have my Reach More Clients Power Conference every year, annual event. And he spoke at large and small events. And so, I do the same. So I think, just looking at Marcus Garvey as an entrepreneur from a marketing perspective, it was just really powerful and um, inspirational for me, because I wanted to challenge myself to see, okay, what other people have made an impact and utilize these tactics outside of the usual suspects that everybody says that they're inspired by. And so he was one of the ones that caught my eye as I surveyed history.
Love it. Tell me, so the magazine you mentioned a moment ago, you told me before we hit record about the second issue and the coverage of artificial intelligence. And
Yeah, the
I,
second
I
issue is the AI issue.
mhm. Here's the question, because as this AI stuff has become more and more not dominant, but there's more awareness of it, and there's a big shift in the major technology companies that are involved in this world of SEO that you live in. I'm curious to get your assessment of the shift that's happening as influenced by AI, things that might change in SEO, things that probably won't change, the types of businesses that will be more or less affected by AI becoming more a part of our regular everyday world.
Well, I think what's going to happen with AI right now, the chatbots are pretty limited in how much data that they can share with the user. But as a business owner, it's really important for you to put out more content, to put your expertise and experience and out there in an authoritative way. So as these chatbots are crawling through the internet, that you get pulled into these chatbots. This is really important. And then you also have um, content that's going to be served on search engine results. And so
Mhm.
it's really important for you to have your social media, to have your voice search optimized. I know if you ask Siri or Alexa or Google Assistant who the SEO queen, it's going to tell you, zscott.seoqueen.com. And so this is because we have verified our website.
Mhm.
We've done all the things that was true in 2000, true in 2010, true in 2020. A lot of these best practices aren't going to change. The biggest challenge right now is dominating your keyword economy. That is the focus that business owners should have. SEO is not dead. It's never going to be dead. As long as there's computers, there's always going to be people having a need to find information,
Mhm.
and just the way that they're searching for information is just changing, and you just have to keep up with all the various platforms.
A great answer, and I think that where I'm seeing the biggest shifts are the types of searches that we've done in the past that you don't necessarily need Google for, because
Hmm.
these SEO tools are capable of answering a different type of question. The
Right.
the one thing that I have noticed, and I'd like to get your take on this, is that the platforms like Bing and Google in particular are right now sort of fighting this battle of over AI as the first focus of the user interaction. And as a result, anything that you type into the platforms, they are prioritizing things that are AI generated as opposed to what we gotten used to in
Hmm.
SEO organic search. And so I think it's a wait and see, sort of this
Well,
is going to develop over time.
yeah, I mean, over the holiday, I asked my brother, I asked my baby brother, I said, so, what do you think about AI? And the first thing he said was like, it needs to be regulated. I was like, wait, whoa. I mean, he was really like passionate about it. I'm like, okay, so here I am asking someone who's not a digital marketer. He's a professional athlete, professional, stunt man. He's in a whole different um, industry than I am, and to hear his reaction, it to me it made me pause, because I realized that the danger with talk to text, AI, a lot of this is it will make you lazy. When I was growing up, I was one of the first kids to turn in a paper in elementary school that was typed. One of the things that my dad did was he disabled spell check. So I went through elementary school, junior high, high school without spell check. And even now with the automatic spell check on my phone, it bothers me. But the danger with AI is that it will make you intellectually lazy.
Mm.
And I think this is something that I talked to my son about, and I'm definitely going to be writing about that in the magazine, because I think AI is good if you do the work. If you're using AI as a substitute for human um, analysis, that's the big danger, because I really think that when you allow AI to do your thinking for you, that's when a fascist chatbot can then control every aspect of your being. And to me, that's scary.
Yeah. There's seven additional episodes we could do just on the points that you've raised there. I wholeheartedly agree that we're in a position where we have to figure out how to effectively utilize these tools, and these are things that we didn't really need to make decisions quite as much earlier on in when we were shifting from the analog world to the digital world over the last
Hmm.
several decades. But now we are probably, in a position to have to address the types of questions that you've just raised and do it quickly because the way that the pace at which this is coming at us, it could shift things considerably for a lot of the way that we behave as humans. So,
Yeah, I really think that um, our reliance as humans just on technology is definitely concerning. And that conversation with my brother really had an impact on me because it really made me start to really reflect and think. And I'm like, as much as this technology allows me to boost my productivity and turn things around quickly, you know how is it stunting my cognition, stunting my children's cognition, the society's cognition, and this is definitely a concern. And so I think we really have to be intentional about what we do use it for.
I wholeheartedly agree. There's a lot of opportunity and there's a lot of scary stuff coming our way. The one topic that I was hoping to cover, and I know you were as well, is one that we're going to have to save for another conversation. But you've demonstrated it rather well during our conversation today, and that's a word that you shared with me early on when we were talking. It's the word consistency. And
Hmm.
I've noticed throughout our conversation today, you were very, very consistent, and I wish more businesses were consistent around this, of mentioning your business by name, reminding and embedding it into the minds of the listeners that you are the SEO queen and that they can
Yes, I am.
find you at seoqueen.com. If folks are interested in knowing a little bit more about what they'll discover when they get to that website, before we wrap up, why don't you share a little bit about what you do and what they'll discover there?
Yeah, so when you go to seoqueen.com, you'll see there's resources, there's services, and there's just, a multitude of blog posts about various topics related to artificial intelligence, Netflix versus Disney. I do a deep dive into their paid and organic Google presence and compare them both and so much more. There's like over 50 SEO tools available on the website, a glossary. So if there's anything that you have questions about, and you can also book a complimentary 15-minute consultation with me, just click on Speak to the SEO Queen on SEOqueen.com. There's just a plethora of resources there. Come, stay a while.
Well, that isn't that part of the SEO strategy, right? To get people to come and to stay a while. So, um,
Absolutely.
well, perfect. We're gonna have to leave it there. Z Scott, thank you so very much. This has been a really fun conversation. Even if we didn't cover our core point of consistency, we slipped it in there at the end, and I'm so glad
Yeah.
that I had a chance to have this conversation with you today.
Yeah. Thanks, David, for having me.
Indeed, folks, you've been listening to More Perfect Marketing. If you know somebody who could benefit from listening to the conversation you just heard, and I'm pretty sure you do, please send them our way. Until next time, my name is David Baer. Bye bye.